Hello, everybody. My name is Sean. I'm a software engineer on Team Adapt here at HYPR, and today I'm excited to walk you through some of the powerful testing features that are built into the Adapt platform. These testing features allow you to run policy evaluations in a safe testing environment, leveraging real user events without impacting user experience whatsoever. This means you can confidently assess and refine your policies before deployment, ensuring they work exactly as intended. Let's dive right in and see how it works. We'll start by going to the Adapt tab on the left side of Control Center. And this is going to bring you to the main homepage of Adapt, where everything Adapt related will live. Signal handlers, the risk policies themselves. But for this demo purpose, we're going to be looking at risk policies. So we'll go ahead and create a new one. Our login limits is our base policy, monitors users' failures during authentication. So we'll start with this, and we'll rename it login limits demo for this. We're going to use a built-in policy. We're not going to do any custom changes to the code. So we'll just run with built-in, and we'll add this policy. And now we'll be taken back to the main Adapt dashboard where all the policies would be listed. We only have one at this moment. And you can see here on the right side all the information related to that policy. And this is where you can assign policies to an RPApp as well to run in line with authentication and automatically evaluate users. But for this demo, we're going to be using the test feature specifically. So it's going to be the button on the top right here. And this brings you to our testing page where we have the ability to supply a username, select a date range that we want to bring in specific events for, and we could evaluate the policy for a user in a given time frame and see how that policy would evaluate if this was an assigned policy for an RPApp, the user was authenticating, and it was going to evaluate that user in real time. So, for example, we can use this test user, and we can bring in events, say, for the last 7 days. And you'll see here there is just a list of JSON events. It's the same events you would see in the audit trail and control center, but they're just in a format that the policy could take in and leverage. And on the left side here, you can see the events are all here. So we're going to hit evaluate. When we do this, in the background, the policy service runs, it evaluates, and this would be the result for a user at this given time if they were to encounter this policy. An incredibly useful piece of this Adapt testing feature is the ability to bring in events milliseconds after they happen for a user. So in this example, we have a test user. We can go to another screen, trigger a few authentication failures, and see the direct results of those events on the policy, all within a millisecond of those events taking place, coming back to the screen, pulling in the latest events for the user, and then evaluating the policy again. So the best way to do this is to show it in real time, where we can just go to another window, and we can trigger a couple of authentication failures. So on my phone here, I'll click deny. And we'll do it again. So that is 2 authentication failures. Now for the policy evaluation, we'll come here, we'll pull in the events for the last hour, and we'll hit evaluate. So now we're seeing the auth failure count is 2 for this user. They're still passing the policy evaluation because the limit is 5 by default. So if we go back to this window and trigger 3 more, which I'm denying all from my phone, and finally, and just one more for good measure. So now we should be at 6 failures, and when we evaluate with the latest events now, we should see 1, the user failing, and 2, the auth failure count here. This should increase to 6. So now you're seeing the policy evaluation has failed for the user. User block has been initiated. You can see the action event be submitted to block the user. And at the same time, we can see now the auth count has increased to 6. And that is why it is above the threshold, which triggers that blocked event to be submitted. This is just the basic login limits policy and how it works when a user is being blocked. But for any custom policy or stuff like that, you can trigger specific events for a user, see those events come through almost immediately, and then evaluate the policy on those new events to make sure that all the use cases and edge cases that you need to be accounting for can be accounted for.